Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to skip that. And I want to talk about what they call the metaverse, which I find pretty cool and pretty interesting. And these are the kind four quadrants of metaverse. Okay, and one is this idea of live logging. All of you know about live logging. What is live logging? Maybe taking pictures every 5 minutes. You should see how many pictures my son takes of my granddaughter. Okay, and I'm pretty maniac about taking pictures too. But there are people that are much more maniac than me. They pick up an Oculus or glasses, Google glasses, and they wear it for 3 years, recording absolutely everything they did. They wear it when they are sleeping. That's funny? Maybe. Okay, and so that's one dimension of metaverse. The second one, I'm going to go to the other side of the quadrant here, mirror worlds. What is a mirror world? It's some electronic world that represents your world. The easiest to think is Google Maps. Okay, Google Maps represents the world, and where you are. Oh, mirror worlds is actually like Google, like maps. It's a representation of the real world. We wrote a paper with Hyundai where we talk about Audit 4.0. And Audit 4.0 is actually a representation of the business environment and a mirror world that represents in multiple layers the real world and puts internet capabilities into it. The third one is virtual worlds, is a world that you invent, a gaming environment. And the fourth one is this area of augmented reality, whereby, for example, you have some form of VR glasses, or like Oculus, and you are sitting in class, and the device identifies when you're having difficulty with something and gives you information to supplement it. So it's augmented reality together with virtual reality. A good example is you go to a football game, put a VR device on, you look at a player, it tells you this player is such and such a player, these are his statistics, he typically throws the ball to the left, etc., etc., etc. Talking about football. Okay, and so that's augmented reality, is when you expand reality with technology. And the virtual world is a game like Second Life, that you become an avatar, you fly, you go and recruit for PwC because they used to have a store in Second Life. Now Second Life lost popularity, participate in games, and etc., etc. And if you put these four things together, live logging, augmented reality, mirror worlds, virtual worlds, you have the metaverse, which generates a lot of interesting questions. And I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to jump to this. Question is, what surveillance bot? What happens when there is ubiquitous surveillance and you put in artificial intelligence on it? That happens, could be a very totalistic society, could be a very difficult, non-democratic society. And what do you do with virtual worlds? And what do you do with mirror worlds? And what kind of things you can do with augmented reality? We're actually trying to do a classroom with augmented reality. And if we were at Rutgers, I would give one of you an Oculus to look at, and we would be trying something. Max, one of our undergraduate students, has been developing a little environment of augmented reality, which is quite cool. And probably will eventually be face-to-face. I'll come to class, even if I'm not teaching, and show you what we are doing. Or maybe you'll attend a class pretending that you're an avatar. Pretty cool. Okay. I just want to call your attention to this book. And it's called The Second Machine Age. It is by Bjornsson and McAfee, and they are professors at the Sloan School. And that is kind of a worthwhile book to read. And I'm going to skip on this. And I think this point is actually worthwhile to take. We're going to come back to this. Information is costly to produce, but cheap to reproduce. Okay, so remember, when you study or will study managerial accounting, you typically has fixed cost and variable cost. And typically, you set up your factory, you make iPhones. That's expensive. And every new iPhone that you produce, you are spending, a few $100s of materials to build it. However, when you provide electronic goods, like I prepare a class, Abby and me, we get film, costs money. The moment that the class is done, our incremental cost of any one of you taking is close to zero. So digital goods have a very different cost structure than non-digital goods. And this has not been fully understood in many of the managerial accounting and in many of the world environments that is worthwhile thinking. Now, translation. Meaning when I was at Bell Labs, there were basically two schools of translation, parts of speech and statistical. And then they discovered over there that there were things like, they didn't discover it, they identified it. There were things like the Canadian Parliament notes, which were written in French and in English. So what could they do? Map a sentence in English to French and vice versa. Then they discovered that there was European Union with 23 language translation. And so the entire field of language translation, language recognition, changed dramatically in nature of algorithms and in nature of competences. Meaning, I don't think will be very far that you put yourself some earphones and people are talking to you in French and the thing is translating into English. You already have Google devices that do that type of thing. I can't say that word, I have to be careful. And so this is going to be very interesting. And you really should think about what's going to happen. There'll be one language in the world, or what's going to happen is exactly the opposite, that everyone be able to stay with a little dialect and still be able to understand everyone. Also, what's going to be the effect of competition? What's going to be the effect on computer software? What's going to be the effect on the language of business? English is still the language of business, although Mandarin is getting close to it. However, China has a lot of dialects in there, and that has been an obstacle. However, that's not going to be like that in the future. So I ran out of time, and I want you to, I'm going to send you the slides. Have a look at these. Basically the progress in competence and in power of processors, and we can do the same in storage. And basically, you see, it's logarithmic scales on the vertical thing, and you see the development is incredible. And these are the basic facilitators for artificial intelligence.